Can you believe it? The smallest state in America is home to a city that carries the notorious reputation of being the most corrupt in the country. Its mayor went to prison twice. Who would even dare to come here? Data from US real estate portals shows that New Yorkers rank #1 among those wanting to move here. Are these just naive investors being lured into a capitalist trap? Or is this the ultimate city of opportunity, expertly flying under the radar? In this episode, we are going to pull back the curtain and uncover the mystery of Providence. How did such a magnificent-looking city end up with one of the most outrageous mayors in American history? When you mention Rhode Island, 90% of people have no real concept of it. As the smallest state in the US, it covers just over 1,200 square miles, 5% of the size of Texas. But don't you dare look down on it or assume it's poor just because it's small. Their state house is actually ranked among the top 5 buildings in human architectural history for its self-supporting dome structure. That top 5 list is no joke. We're talking about structures like St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican and the Taj Mahal in India. When you hear what Rhode Island stands alongside literal World Heritage sites, you realize that while it may be small when it makes a move, it's unforgettable. This was especially true of its former mayor, Buddy Chauncey. He was an incredibly dramatic and ruthless figure. He ruled the local government for 21 years and faced 2 major criminal indictments. The first was a personal matter. Suspecting his wife was running off with a lover, he kidnapped, imprisoned, and beat the man. He lost his mayoralty over it, but he didn't end up behind bars. Instead, relying on his immense personal charisma, he was re-elected as mayor in a landslide vote. However, during his second tenure, he was investigated by the FBI for public corruption. That time, he actually went to jail for 4 years. This dragged Providence down with him, leaving the city branded by the media as the most corrupt in America. But don't you find it strange? Why do so many people from states like New York and California still want to move here? What are they after? It can't just be about property prices. They must have spotted something far more valuable in this city. You wouldn't notice it unless you came here yourself.
At the light, turn left onto Exchange Street, then turn right onto Exchange Terrace.
How do you judge if an American city is completely rotten? Back in school, I asked an urban planning professor this very question. He told me, go look at the people downtown. Are they taking their time eating? Are they slowly sipping their coffee? Can they even afford to just sit and space out? Right now, let's head to downtown Providence to see if it matches the image of a city run by corrupt mayors, as portrayed by the media. I purposely picked a morning to look around and see if there are homeless people slouching and staggering like Walking Dead in front of unopened storefronts. You all know exactly which city I'm talking about, right?
Across the city, the tents stretch everywhere, from Hollywood to Venice Beach.
Yep, that city. We'll use it as a comparison. I just ran into an older local gentleman who said he really liked my camouflage pants. He mentioned that when he joined the military back in the day, he enlisted partly because he loved this desert pattern. Older viewers have probably seen the famous movie The Godfather. That film depicts the rise and fall of an Italian immigrant family in New York across generations. But Italian neighborhoods aren't just found in New York. They exist in many parts of the East Coast, including right here in Providence.
You guys can go, because right after this green light, it's going to be a walk lane.
Viewers who watched our European city series might remember that in the Rome and Milan episodes, I explained how European and Italian urban planning is completely different from the American urban structure. The scale of Italian neighborhoods is much smaller. The physical distance for human traffic and communication is very intimate. Shops are just 1 or 2 bays wide. There are piazzas that, while small, are fully equipped with fountains, parasols, coffee, and music. It's completely different from America's chain store culture. Because of this, the primary lifestyle in these Italian neighborhoods is wonderfully unhurried. When the longtime residents are willing to stay in the downtown area, it proves that the local interpersonal relationships and business networks are relatively stable and healthy. having walked around this whole area, you can see that if a city's management system is responsible, they absolutely will not let homeless people wander the streets like zombies. Therefore, never make excuses for municipal administrators. Managing this is exactly what a mayor is supposed to do. I believe that no matter what the media has reported about a city's past, that's all in the past. As long as a mayor has any sense of pride, they should be thinking about how to retain a shrinking population. For Providence, the hope it offers to young people lies right up there on the opposite hill. In the era of AI layoffs, what kind of city is best equipped to attract young people to stay? Providence offers at least one answer: the Ivy League school on the hill, Brown University. Now, we're not just here to talk about universities today. We are discussing what makes a city attractive in the AI era. When many people hear university, their first reaction is, AI is so advanced now, do we even need to go to school anymore? Most people don't truly understand the actual role a university plays within a city. If an ordinary person just wants to find a job, America's vocational training system is already highly perfected. For example, nursing training gets you certified and straight to work. Top-tier universities are not just technical schools. For a city, a university solves the issue of continuously injecting new lifeblood into the community. To outsiders, they are scientific ivory towers. Internally, they are employment stabilizers. From a long-term development perspective, a university solves 3 core growth problems for a city: 1. Top-tier talent, 2. Capital injection, 3. Families settling down. Essentially, you get people, money, and a future. The biggest crisis in society right now is the instability brought on by AI layoffs. But if you research it carefully, you'll find that most of the layoffs right now are for positions that can be easily replaced by automated templates. Therefore, when evaluating a city in the AI era, the higher its reliance on a single industry, the easier it is to be entirely wiped out by AI. However, if a city has a top-tier university, its ability to regenerate its workforce is much stronger. The 3 directions of urban development, a university can help a city secure at least 2 of these. In our Rust Belt City series, we saw time and time again that areas with good universities were able to successfully transition their surrounding industries. This is because a university's research cycle is fundamentally different from a political election cycle. Keeping policies stable for 2 years is already a stretch. Universities are the exact opposite. Take Providence, for example. Brown University was founded in 1764, 12 years before the United States was even founded. They've seen every kind of president and political climate imaginable. Regardless of who is president or who is mayor, universities operate on long-termism. It's exactly what Warren Buffett says about investing: you have to hold long-term. Universities actually execute this. So if a city has a top-tier university, its future will typically be taken seriously by generation after generation. But you might still be wondering, no matter how good the university is, that doesn't mean life is good for the average person. Next, let's go check out the actual quality of life for regular people living here. I have a colleague who is preparing to retire. He told me his ideal situation is to live in a place where young people want to be, but not too close to them. I think College Hill in Providence is very close to what he's looking for. You can walk a few minutes and be right here to feel the energy of the youth. But these young people aren't so close to your front door that they disrupt your rhythm of life. A city's biggest fear is a monolithic demographic structure. If it's all young people relying entirely on a college town, the city feels restless and transient. If it's entirely elderly people, the city feels like it's in its twilight. Only when these two strike a balance, with activity spaces kept at an appropriate distance, does it benefit everyone. When you step out for a walk in retirement, you can see the youth, catch up on street news, and encounter novel ideas. And if your home happens to be near a top-tier design school, you've really struck gold. Many people ask me, since you're in architectural design, do you especially love designing luxury mansions? My understanding of architectural design is that it should strive to improve the quality of life for ordinary families across all age groups. For example, if you're a young person with a limited budget, do not fall for the myth of luxury furniture or expensive materials. The absolute most important factor for the living quality of a house is lighting. When you see a building that looks brilliantly three-dimensional and you want to take a picture, don't you look for an angle with just the right light so it looks good? The beauty of architecture is 80% expressed through light and shadow. When picking a house, look at the natural light first. If it's abundant, you'll feel bright and uplifted living there. Design principle number 1, lighting. For retirees and older folks who want a quiet, peaceful home, you have to remember to control your color palette. Don't make your house look visually chaotic. Visual clutter brings agitation. If you walk into any classic, established neighborhood, why is it called classic? Because it exercises restraint. Take these red bricks and plain walls. There's nothing overly flashy. I really love these small red houses. Full brick, the ground is brick, the walls are brick. It's extremely refined. For those not in the design profession, just remember these 3 points. When these 3 are unified, this kind of beauty is called harmony. I believe what makes us stop and linger in Providence's historic districts is exactly this harmonious beauty. But you might be curious. Given media reports that influxes of out-of-state movers have driven up local housing prices, can people still buy into this harmonious quality of life?
At the light, turn right onto Park Row West.
I watched a lot of YouTubers who had relocated locally. They all said they didn't move here just for cheaper houses. Rather, living in places like New York, it had become increasingly difficult to buy a sense of order in life. So when I got here, I also discovered that the real draw isn't the housing prices. It's the city's ability to strike a perfect balance between historical conflict and future order. There is certainly that traditional New England rigidness, so it has the youth-packed College Hill, but it also has Blackstone, where the old money gathers. In that split second, I suddenly felt that Providence's advantage lies precisely in its small size. Even an outsider like me can quickly map out most of the city's nooks and crannies. The city is very multi-dimensional. Going up and down, every angle gives you a completely different feel. I imagine people moving here from New York no longer have to worry about moving to one place for a good school district, then moving again when they change jobs, and then packing up to find a new place to retire. In a small city like this, you completely avoid that hassle. For ordinary people like us, living with the immense daily uncertainties of the AI era, whether you rent or buy, you can attain a sense of certainty here that allows you to live a stable life. As those YouTubers who moved here mentioned, the career struggles of young people today represent a global, generational anxiety. The middle class is also unsure about their future income. It's a question every middle-class family is pondering. In the AI era, perhaps the most valuable cities are no longer the ones with the tallest skyscrapers, the hottest jobs, or the fastest money. If you want to anchor your heart, you should look for a city that seamlessly integrates work, housing, lifestyle, and retirement. A city that brings you back to a sense of certainty. I have to admit, Providence is absolutely not perfect. But at the very least, it hasn't rotted to the point where young people completely lose hope in the future. In the AI layoff wave, young people are the ones hurting the most. Being able to provide them with a breathing space is incredibly rare. Young people moving here don't necessarily have to buy a home. I believe that if the only story a city has left to tell is rising housing prices, that it's only considered premium because it's expensive, then naturally, it won't offer much help to the future of its youth. If I had to summarize my feelings about Providence in one sentence, I'd say, it is by no means America's most dazzling city, but in this era, it is undeniably one of the few low-key cities still thinking about how to give young people a bit of hope, making them want to stay and build a stable life. Behind the scenes of this episode, I want to talk about how the people and things I encountered in Providence truly moved me. When I arrived locally, I really wanted to hear the authentic thoughts of people who have lived here for at least a decade. The encounter that left the deepest impression on me was at the marina, where I met an older gentleman who had just returned from taking his boat out. We discussed our respective industries, and the point that resonated the most was this. In recent years, no matter what industry you're in, you might feel a sense of helplessness, forced forward by the macro environment. You don't dare to stop. Just like the older gentleman returning on his boat said, going out to sea isn't about whether your boat is faster than someone else's. It's about always remembering to hold onto your helm and maintain control over your course. The current investment climate is highly unpredictable. You need to know how to get into the game, but more importantly, you must have the ability to return safely. So I think about the reports from Zillow and Redfin saying that the highest number of newcomers here are from New York. I'm certain it's not just because of the housing prices, because there are plenty of cities in the Northeast with cheaper real estate. I believe the people who truly move here do so because they love the state of life it offers. I wish everyone, whether you're currently living in Providence or deciding to move to a new city to grow, finds your own happiness. Whatever suits you is what's best. Don't worry about what others say. Our next stop is the final destination of this East Coast business trip. Local friends, thank you for waiting. You can probably guess where it is, right? Thank you for your likes and subscriptions. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next exciting share.